Thunder crashed outside the research facility as Marcus Reed hunched over his equipment, analyzing deep space frequencies that had been haunting him for weeks. The signals came from nowhere, carrying patterns too complex for natural phenomena, yet too organic for artificial intelligence. Rain pelted the windows of his isolated laboratory, creating shadows that danced across walls lined with monitors and detection equipment. At 32, Marcus had spent his career listening to the cosmos, hoping to find proof that humanity wasn't alone. Tonight felt different. The signals were stronger, more focused, almost as if something was trying to communicate directly with him. His coffee had grown cold hours ago. He couldn't tear himself away from the mesmerizing patterns flowing across his screens. The storm outside intensified. And suddenly, every piece of equipment in the room began to hum with unusual energy. The lights flickered, then steadied into an eerie blue glow that seemed to emanate from nowhere and everywhere at once. Marcus stood up, his heart racing as the temperature in the room dropped several degrees. Then she appeared. The air shimmered. Like heat waves rising from summer pavement, and a figure materialized in the center of his laboratory. She was tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to hold starlight beneath its surface. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, and her eyes were the deep purple of nebulae seen through powerful telescopes. She wore a form-fitting garment that appeared to be woven from threads of pure light. Marcus stumbled backward, knocking over his chair. Every scientific instinct told him to document this moment, but he found himself frozen by her presence. She moved with fluid grace, each step creating small ripples of luminescence on the floor beneath her bare feet. When she spoke, her voice carried the music of solar winds and distant quasars. "Marcus Reed," she said, though he had never told her his name. "I have traveled through the void between stars to find you." He tried to speak but could only manage a whisper. "What are you?" She stepped closer, and he caught a scent like ozone, mixed with something sweet and alien. "I am Celeste," she replied, her gaze never leaving his face. "I am the last hope of my people, and you are the answer to prayers sent across light years of darkness." Marcus felt his scientific training battling with emotions he couldn't name. "This isn't possible. You can't be real." Celeste raised one. The delicate hand and the air around them began to sparkle with tiny points of light, like stars being born in miniature. "Reality is far stranger than your kind has imagined," she said softly. "I have crossed the galaxy because something in your signal called to something in my soul." She moved closer still, until only inches separated them. Marcus could feel warmth radiating from her skin despite her otherworldly appearance. When she looked into his eyes, he saw depths of loneliness and hope that made his chest tight with unexpected emotion. "I must ask you something," she continued, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "My people are dying, our world grows cold, and I have been sent to find what we have lost. But standing here before you, I find myself asking a different question entirely." She reached out tentatively, her fingertips almost touching his face, but stopping just short, as if afraid of what might happen if they made contact. "What must I do to have you, human?" she asked, her purple eyes searching his with desperate intensity. "What must I do to make you see me not as an alien specimen, but as someone who has crossed impossible distances just to find the warmth that radiates from your kind?" The question hung in the air between them like a bridge waiting to be crossed. Marcus felt the weight of her loneliness, the hope in her voice, and something stirring in his own heart that he had never experienced before. Marcus stared into Celeste's luminous eyes, feeling as if he stood at the edge of a cliff with nothing but stars below. The laboratory around them seemed to fade into insignificance as her question echoed in his mind. Before he could formulate an answer, she stepped back, wrapping her arms around herself, as if suddenly aware of her vulnerability. "I should not have asked," she whispered, her glow dimming slightly. "Your kind values logic, reason. What I seek has no place in scientific understanding." "Wait." Marcus found his voice, surprising himself with its steadiness. "Don't retreat from me now. I've spent my life searching for proof that we're not alone, and here you are, asking me the most human question imaginable." Celeste looked up. At him, hope flickering in her expression like candlelight. Human question. Marcus moved closer, his initial shock giving way to curiosity and something deeper. Love. Connection. The need to be seen and wanted. You've traveled across space too. Ask about love. She nodded slowly. My world ethos was once filled with passion and deep emotional bonds. But as we advanced, we began to see such feelings as weaknesses. We trained ourselves to be logical, efficient, cold. Now our planet dies because we forgot how to truly care for anything. And you came here because humans still burn. With feeling, she said, her voice growing stronger. Your signals, they carried something our technology couldn't replicate. When I analyzed them, I felt something stir inside me that I thought was lost forever. Marcus reached out hesitantly, and when she didn't pull away, he gently took her hand. Her skin was warm and sent tingling sensations up his arm. He said simply. Celeste's eyes widened.
Nice.
The connection could be dangerous. Our species have never shown me your world, Marcus repeated, his thumb tracing across her knuckles. Let me understand. She closed her eyes and squeezed his hand. Instantly, Marcus's laboratory disappeared, replaced by visions of a crystalline city beneath twin suns. He saw beings like Celeste moving through beautiful structures, but their faces were blank, emotionless. He felt the growing cold that was killing their world. It's not just physical cold, but the absence of warmth that comes from caring hearts. The vision shifted, and he saw Celeste as a child, the last generation born before the great emotional purging. He felt her pain as she watched her people become shells of their former selves, and her desperate determination to find what they had lost before it was too late. When the connection broke, Marcus found himself breathing heavily, tears streaming down his face for a world he'd never seen but now mourned. Celeste was glowing brighter now, her own eyes wet with tears. You feel it, she whispered in wonder. You truly understand. Before Marcus could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Emergency lights bathed everything in harsh red as automated voices announced a security breach. Through the windows, Marcus could see helicopters approaching, their searchlights cutting through the storm. They've found us, he said, pulling Celeste toward the back exit. My communications. We're being monitored. Celeste's form flickered, her emotional state affecting her physical stability. I have brought danger to you. This is why my people forbid. Stop, Marcus interrupted, grabbing her shoulders gently. Whatever happens, I'm glad you found me. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm part of something bigger than myself. The sound of boots in the hallway grew closer. Celeste looked toward the approaching footsteps, then back at Marcus. Without warning, she pressed her lips to his in a kiss that sent electricity through his entire body. For a moment, both of their forms glowed with the same soft light. When they broke apart, she whispered urgently, There is more you must know about why you can connect with me. Marcus Reed, you are not entirely human. The laboratory door burst open as armed soldiers flooded in. But the space where Marcus and Celeste had been standing was empty, filled only with fading points of light that danced like distant stars before disappearing entirely. 6 blocks away, Marcus and Celeste materialized in an abandoned warehouse, both gasping from the strain of her teleportation ability. Marcus's hands shook as he tried to process what she had revealed in those final moments before their escape. Not entirely human? He whispered, staring at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. What does that mean? Celeste leaned against a dusty crate, her glow flickering weakly. Long ago, before your species developed space travel, some of my people visited Earth. There were ... connections made. Bloodlines that carried forward through generations, mostly dormant, until the right catalyst appeared. Marcus felt his world shifting beneath him. You're saying I'm part alien? It explains why you could receive our signals, why our bond formed so quickly. She looked up at him with exhaustion and tenderness. It's why touching me doesn't harm you as it would others of your kind. Before Marcus could respond, the sound of helicopters grew closer. Through broken windows, they could see searchlights sweeping the area. Celeste struggled to stand, her energy clearly depleted from their escape. Can you transport us again? Marcus asked, moving to support her. She shook her head weakly. Not for several hours. The ability drains me significantly, especially when carrying another person. The warehouse door exploded inward, and a figure in black tactical gear stepped. Through the smoke, Agent Victor Stone was everything Marcus had imagined a government hunter would be. Cold eyes, efficient movements, and weapons that hummed with technology far beyond civilian understanding. Dr. Marcus Reed, Stone announced, his voice amplified by his helmet speakers. You are harboring an extraterrestrial entity classified as extremely dangerous. Step away from the subject, and you will not be harmed. Marcus moved protectively in front of Celeste. She's not dangerous. She came here seeking help. Stone's laugh was harsh and mechanical through his voice modulator. The entity has already demonstrated reality manipulation, teleportation, and psychic influence over human subjects. You've been compromised, Doctor. He speaks the truth, Celeste whispered behind Marcus, her voice heavy with guilt. Our bonding process does change humans. I should have warned you before. I don't care, Marcus interrupted, never taking his eyes off Stone. Whatever changes are happening, I choose them. Stone raised his weapon, a device that crackled with energy. The choice is no longer yours to make. As the agent prepared to fire, Celeste suddenly surged forward, her body blazing with protective light. The energy beam meant for Marcus struck her instead. She screamed as the weapon's frequency disrupted her cellular structure. But instead of falling, something unexpected happened. Her pain triggered Marcus's dormant heritage. Light erupted from his skin as genetic codes activated by her presence awakened fully. The warehouse filled with brilliant illumination that sent Stone's equipment into complete malfunction. Impossible, Stone snarled, pulling out backup weapons. Hybrid activation wasn't supposed to be possible without laboratory conditions. Marcus looked at his hands in amazement as energy flowed through him. He could feel Celeste's pain as if it were his own, and with that empathy came power he never knew he possessed. The connection between them had become something greater than either could achieve alone. Celeste reached for him, and when their fingers touched, the warehouse around them began to dissolve. They were learning to work together, their combined abilities creating possibilities neither had imagined. Find them, Stone commanded into his radio as the two figures vanished again. Priority Alpha. They're bonded now, which makes them exponentially more dangerous. But Marcus and Celeste were already gone, reappearing on the roof of the old observatory where Marcus had spent countless nights as a student, dreaming of the stars and wondering what might be looking back. The abandoned observatory had been Marcus's sanctuary during graduate school, a place where he could escape the pressures of academia and lose himself in the vastness of space. Now, as dawn approached after their night of running, it became their refuge once more. Celeste sat beside the old telescope, her glow providing gentle illumination in the pre-dawn darkness. Your Professor Anya Volkov used to bring you here, she said softly, surprising Marcus as he returned with supplies he'd hidden in the building years ago. He paused, looking at her with wonder. How do you know about Anya? Our connection grows. Stronger, Celeste replied, touching her temple. I can feel your memories, your emotions, just as you're beginning to sense mine. Marcus set down the food and blankets he'd retrieved, then sat beside her on the dusty floor. I can feel it too. Your fear, your hope, ... your loneliness. He reached out tentatively. May I? She nodded, and when he took her hand, both of their forms glowed softly in the darkness. This time the sensation was gentler, more controlled. Marcus could sense the vast distance she had traveled, not just through space but through her own emotional journey from duty to something far more personal. My people sent me to find humans with compatible genetics, she whispered, to study how emotion could be reintroduced to our species before we fade into extinction. But what I found in you, ... She looked into his eyes. This wasn't supposed to happen. What wasn't? Love, she said simply. I was supposed to remain objective, analytical. Instead, I find myself willing to abandon my mission entirely just to stay in this moment with you. Marcus felt his heart race at her words. Then stay. We'll find another way to help your people. Celeste's expression grew sad. It's not that simple. The bonding process between our species is ... intense. Physical connection could trigger changes in both of us that can't be reversed. Despite her warning, Marcus moved closer. Drawn by the warmth radiating from her skin and the depth of emotion in her purple eyes. What kind of changes? You would gain abilities like mine, but lose part of your human nature? I would become more human, gaining your capacity for emotion, but losing some of my natural longevity and energy manipulation. Would we still be ourselves? Consider this carefully. We would become something new, something that has never existed before. The sound of helicopters in the distance reminded them both that their pursuers were closing in. Marcus knew they had little time before Stone and his team found them again. Celeste said, taking both of her hands in his, I need you to know something. In 32 years of life, I've never felt truly connected to anyone or anything. When I look at the stars, I see beauty and mystery, but I've always felt separate from it all. She listened intently as he continued. With you, for the first time, I don't feel alone in the universe. If becoming something new means keeping that connection, then I'm ready for whatever changes come. Tears that sparkled like liquid starlight rolled down her cheeks. Marcus, the risks. He silenced her with a gentle kiss, and this time, neither of them pulled away. The glow around them intensified as their emotions synchronized completely. When they finally parted, both were breathing heavily, their foreheads resting together. Show me, Marcus whispered. Show me what we could become. Celeste's hands trembled as she placed them on either side of his face. Once we begin, there's no returning to what we were. I know. Their lips met again, and this time, the kiss carried the weight of a choice that would echo across two worlds. Light erupted around them as genetic patterns rewrote themselves, as two different forms of consciousness began to merge while maintaining their essential selves. The transformation was beautiful and terrifying. Pleasure and pain intertwining as they became living bridges between species. Marcus felt his awareness expanding beyond human limitations, while Celeste experienced the full depth of human emotional capacity for the first time. When the light finally faded, they lay intertwined on the observatory floor, both changed yet still recognizably themselves. Marcus's eyes now held flecks of purple starlight, while Celeste's skin had gained a warmth and softness that spoke of newfound humanity. But their moment of peace was shattered by the sound of boots on the observatory stairs. Their transformation had created an energy signature that Stone's equipment could track anywhere on Earth. General Dmitry Kozlov entered the observatory flanked by a dozen soldiers, his weathered face showing no emotion as he surveyed the scene before him. Unlike Agent Stone's technological approach, Kozlov represented old-school military efficiency. Capture or eliminate, no middle ground, Dr. Reed, the general said in accented English. You have 30 seconds to step away from the entity before we consider you a hostile combatant. Marcus and Celeste rose together, their connection now so complete they moved as one organism. The transformation had left them both visibly changed, but stronger than either had been alone. She's not an entity, Marcus replied, his voice carrying new harmonics that resonated with otherworldly authority. Her name is Celeste, and she came here seeking peace. Kozlov's expression remained unmoved. Our analysis indicates the creature has compromised your mental state. What we see before us is no longer human. You're right, Marcus said, surprising. Everyone, including Celeste, I'm no longer entirely human. But I'm more myself than I've ever been. The soldiers raised their weapons, energy signatures indicating they were designed specifically to disrupt alien biology. But Celeste stepped forward, her hand raised in a gesture of peace. General Kozlov, she said, her voice now carrying the warmth of human emotion alongside its alien music. I understand your fear, and my own people react the same way when faced with change they cannot control. Spare us the diplomatic speech, Kozlov snarled. We know what you are, what your kind wants. Earth will not become another conquest. Celeste's expression grew sad. Look at me, truly look. Do you see a conqueror? I am one being, alone, seeking something your species has in abundance, but mine is forgotten. For a moment, uncertainty flickered. In the general's eyes, the woman before him did not match the intelligence reports of a dangerous invader. But his training quickly reasserted itself. Orders are orders. You will both come with us for study and containment. No, Marcus said. Firmly, we won't. As the soldiers prepared to fire, something unexpected happened. Professor Anya Volkov, Marcus's elderly mentor, stepped through the observatory's back entrance.
Ow.
Her gray hair was disheveled. Her eyes blazed with the determination that had made her one of the world's leading astrophysicists. Dmitri, she said to the general, her Russian accent thick with authority. You always were too quick to shoot first and ask questions later. Kozlov's composure cracked slightly.
Dr. Volkov.
You should not be here. Neither should you, Anya replied sharply. This boy is the closest thing to a son I have. If you harm him, you answer to me. She moved to stand between the soldiers and the transformed couple. Do you know what you're about to destroy? The greatest scientific discovery in human history. The first successful communication between species, separated by impossible distances. Celeste looked at the elderly woman with gratitude and growing hope. Professor, you don't understand the risks, child, Anya interrupted gently. I've spent 60 years studying the cosmos. I understand that some risks are worth taking. Kozlov's patience was wearing thin. Dr. Volkov, move aside. That's an order. I don't take orders from you anymore, old friend, Anya replied. I retired, remember? Yeah, the standoff continued for tense moments until Celeste made her choice. She turned to Marcus, taking his hands in hers. My love, she whispered, I must return to my people, but not as their emotionless scout. I will go as someone who has learned to feel, to hope, to love. Marcus felt his heart breaking. I'm coming with you. Your world needs you here, she replied, tears streaming down her face. To be the bridge, the proof that connection between species is possible. What about us? Celeste smiled through her tears. We are bonded now across any distance. When my people learn what I have learned, when they remember how to feel, I will return. She kissed him one final time, and in that kiss was a promise that transcended space and time. Then she stepped back and began to glow with brilliant light. General, she said to Kozlov, tell your leaders that Earth has nothing to fear from Ethros. What you should prepare for is friendship, the light around her intensified until it filled the entire observatory. When it faded, she was gone, leaving only the faint scent of stardust and the echo of her promise. Marcus stood alone, but not empty. He could still feel her presence across the vast distance, and he knew that their story was far from over. Looking up through the observatory's dome at the stars that no longer seemed cold and distant, he smiled. Somewhere among those lights, love was learning to grow again. The end.